Okay, I haven't watched this yet.
You do not know us.
Oh, this'll do.
Yet, you do know us. We exist for reasons beyond your comprehension.
Okay, so I'm working on the perfect square.
We are
I figured with the labor, you need some place to put it. You need a sigma, and that sigma is the perfect square. It's got an outer diameter and inner diameter of roughly 3 inches, so that could be anything. I'm looking for 300 feet because football field, baseball field, roughly everything I need inside that 3x3, and whether I'll get those quadrants or not, this Manobranchosaurus build. Laying this out, I need a perfectly square 300 by 300 area. There might be a building in the way of this square. We're going to get to that problem later about the work fraud, time fraud case, and Hancock's little MOS here. Those spaces would be better apt to a school setting, obviously, where I could use a log system like, well, if 300 feet and it's 1/3 of that as far as breaking a football field down into 2 sections or 3 sections and being able to figure out the square area inside of there, because you could say it's 1 to a 64th with 576 altogether and 3x3, right? It's 64 to the power of a million there. That's how many people I could get in there. 3x3, each doing a 12-foot square. That gives them plenty of room to roll around, lick each other, or, well, not lick each other, get a mason station, get a chisel, something, we'll figure something out. A little much. So we can break that down into many different systems, but they're going to have some compelling arguments, right? That one's by the feet that you got to do it, and one's by the fractal. I would rather have a system where because I have group of people, therefore, why the round off on 12.5 as far as the feet is concerned in 300 feet over a log 8, right? Every quarter or every, if you break it down to 3, you get 12 feet, and you get 24 feet and 48 feet and 64 feet. And those would correlate to what could be 1 to 100 feet, because at 300 feet, then that sequence is roughly what it does. But there's some grid work in there, chessboard, and alpha, omega, some code, crypto stuff. And what you're watching, again, much like the Hydra Collider, knowing where the bit compression is going to go, so it knows how to read the Arduino in such a way that alpha and omega can substitute while it runs the track through whatever fractal it's supposed to be NPing in that order, because then you could set up structure like in quadrant, what is really alpha, omega quadrant. The one table you could either say it's the middle of the board or one of the corners of the board. And I didn't really tell you which way that is. I can tell you which, other than it's a B2 in the A1 position and a you'll need those quadrants for virtues of gradings or type of games that you might play in that 300 square. I can put lots of games inside of that, and I can examine the results, and I can even break that down to say there's interesting perspectives from grid points, whether they be time, whether they be space, whether they be some frame onto that, because we set up the parameters in such a way we have that clean environment. The outside of the area is where the spectators, the numbers and the letters live. Well, what's going down in that square is the area. Now, we can do that square anywhere. Remember, this is kind of one of those Mason games. It's the perfect square. They're all perfect blossoms. And we put Larry in here. Now, how did we catch him in the rabbit trap? But that'd be part of it. In there, this is my one stone Buddha monument build. We have to clear out that overburden, lay out the foundation, and set up that square there to be sure that everything Hancock, not necessarily this map, is totally within the town limits, but everything within the town limits where it just runs off into the woods and there's a couple of housing stations isn't really what I'm looking, is what I got. That way I could have both the scale I needed for depicting the drawing, and equally something that is useful at that, so we can actually say in quadrant area, something like that, much like the grid positions here. You could say the DOT station, the police station, and what's actually happening there is fractally based inside of their models, right? Because people aren't going to do that like the Hadron Collider will inside of here. This thing is supposed to be lined up to center mass, having the electron fuzz in the outer positions, and the cat stay in front of the mouse on the outer scope, about the 3.5 inches to it, so that way I can know for sure. Totally quantifiable inside of there by measurements, the opposite, the adjacent, the any other model. That is like totally contained 3x3, whatever 3 may be, A's, B's, X's, Y's, and in that way, you grab everything the light touches. You grab.